Hi guys. I'm sorry to have to do this yet again, but I'm just making this video in memory of Officer Castro, who passed away this weekend. This is very, very sad news on top of all the other sad news that we've all been getting lately. Losing Mr. Murphy a couple of weeks ago, and then this terrible virus pandemic that's been affecting us all. But Officer Castro's loss is yet another tragic event that we're all dealing with right now. I've known Officer Castro since I started working at American Studies 11 years ago. He was a good guy. We were always talking. He loved politics. So he always grabbed me about like something that he was reading, in the Times that day, or something that he heard in the news. He was always asking my opinion about the president, about the elections, about important issues. And I really remember, what I remember probably the most is when he used to stop me and just like ask me about history, things that he read or watched or heard, asking me whether certain things are true, and then trying to find out the backstory of a lot of historical events. So he was a very curious person. He wasn't at American Studies for a few years. There was a gap in between the time I first started American Studies and met him. That was a few years, and then he went to go work at the campus for a few years, and then he came back to American Studies a few years ago. That was great to see him again. And I think the thing that probably you guys remember the most about Officer Castro is the fact that just how friendly he was. The fact that he always wanted to know about the students. He wanted to build a relationship, a connection with the students, which is certainly something that he didn't have to do, but did anyway. So he was always such a friendly face for all of us, and I just love seeing him every day and talking to him. And then often I was on my way out from school, and that always takes me forever to get all my stuff together and leave. But then when I finally do that and ready to go, he always like, oh, Evans, what do you think about blah blah blah? And then I was just in a whole conversation, but it was great. Because it was always something that he was really interested in, and I just loved talking about. Not only because I love talking about history and politics, but just because I loved talking to him. This is so sad, and it's hard, especially at your age, to process so much loss within just a short amount of time. Especially with people who you've known, for so long. Even if you guys, didn't have whole conversations with him like I did, and maybe a lot of, some of you did, but, and this is let me just say this, because this is something that, I was thinking a lot about when Mr. Murphy passed away, and the same thing applies, with Officer Castro passing away now as well. The fact that there are just some people in our lives that become a part of our lives, not necessarily because they become our best friend, or because we know them intimately, but they're just a part of our lives just because we see them every day. That's a really big deal, and I think that a lot of times we don't think of it that way, but I really think we should, because there are so many people who just become a part of your life. That you see often daily. That are just a friendly presence in our lives. That they become a part of our lives, and losing a person like this is also a really big deal. It isn't it's not just losing a family member or a friend, God forbid, that's hard. It's also hard losing someone who you've known or seen for so long, who's just a constant presence for years. This applies with Mr. Murphy. Whether you had a strong relationship or not with him, or Officer Castro, whether you had a strong relationship or not with him, but just his constant presence makes anybody's constant presence makes an impact on us, and not having them around anymore is really hurtful, and it affects us. It affects us deeply when that happens. So if you're asking yourself, should I be so upset? We weren't that close necessarily. If you were close to these two men, then of course you understand why you might be feeling really upset. But if you're ever asking yourself, not just about them, but about anybody who passes away who you might not know that closely, but you ask yourself, but why am I so upset? I didn't really know them so well, but the fact that they were there every day, you saw them, makes them a constant presence in your life. It makes them a part of your life. And losing someone like this is very, very hard. So I think we should just keep that in mind. You guys should keep that in mind as you grow up. Um, but I think we also have to keep in mind the memory of uh, of of Officer Castro, the years of service that he put in. 16 years. I was reading today that he worked at Lehman College. They worked for CUNY, and the fact that he really did try to go beyond what he absolutely had to do. He really did try to reach the students, to be friendly with us, a staff, and really try to really try to reach out. So rest in peace, Officer Castro, and rest in peace, Mr. Murphy. I hope you guys will spend Wednesday as a day of mourning for Mr. Murphy, and keep him in our thoughts, just as will always keep Officer Castro in our thoughts as well. It will be when we finally get back to school, not seeing these two men anymore. We're gonna feel that, and I think and that's normal. To feel the void. But as I told you when Mr. Murphy passed away, somebody doesn't die when you remember them. Somebody physically, yes, but a memory of somebody keeps them alive. Rest in peace.